Well, as we near the end of National Quilting and Crafting Month, I have one final project to share with you. And I started a new quilt dealing with all of these cute little otters. And I wanted to share my project planner with you in OneNote. So stay with me and I'll show you how I do that. Well, hi everyone, this is Crystal from A Crystal Clear Life, where we focus on planning, organizing, and living a more simplified life. If you're new here, I'd like to say welcome. If you are a returning viewer, I'd like to say welcome back. And if you just stopped by because you love quilting, go ahead and check out some of the other quilting resources that I have here on my page. I focus on organizing, so keeping track of projects and all of that kind of thing is what we do here on A Crystal Clear Life. So I hope you'll take a look at some other videos that we have. Today, like I said in the intro, is the end of National Quilting and National Craft Month. And all of this month, I have been putting together a new notebook here in OneNote that is all about crafting and quilting. Really, it can be related to any hobby that you have as a way to store your materials, track your projects, keep track of all of the inventory of, your stamp catalog or, whatever it happens to be. So I hope you will check out the playlist. I will link it up above. It starts from the very beginning with creating a cute graphic to use for your background for your notebook, all the way through about setting up a new notebook, adding new sections, creating some project planners, all of that kind of fun organizing stuff, okay? And so today I want to show you my actual quilt planner for a particular project. This is something that I've been tweaking over the years, so what you're going to see today is the 2024 iteration of my quilt planner sheet. So let's jump into the computer and let's get started. All right, well, as you can see here on my Quilt Planning Master page here, you see the background that I was talking about for my notebook. This is something that I created in PowerPoint, and I just thought it was very appropriate for quilting. And this is not a quilt that I have made. It is a graphic that comes from PowerPoint, but I thought it was really great, okay? What I did here is I took a little bit of my regular project planner information. I took a little bit of other quilt planning sheets that I have used in the past, and I kind of put together my own thing. So let me walk you through this. Basically how I set it up, and then I want to show you the one that I'm using for this cute little quilt that I'm making this month, okay? So the basics of this is it is a 1, 2, 3, 4 columns that I've divided my page into, okay? And really what I have here is I have nested, let me see if I can show you by turning on and off those headers. So right here I have hide borders. If I turn all of the borders back on, you can see that I have nested my tables that you see here inside of one big table. All right, let me see if I can break this down for you here. This first section that starts with title and designer, that's my first column. And you see I have a nested table in there and a nested expenses table at the bottom. In my second column, I nested or embedded another table that fills up the whole column. The third column over here for materials needed, again, I have 1, 2, 3 different nested tables in there. And then in the fourth column, all the way over here with block size and design space, that is my fourth column, and I have a lot of empty space there so that I can draw and sketch and all of that kind of thing, okay? So the reason that I nest these tables, like materials needed, inside of a bigger table is because it really helps keep everything organized and neat and tidy, and things don't move around quite so much. So I really, really like that. Okay. All right. Now let's jump over, and I want to show you one that I've been working on, again, related to this cute quilt fabric. Now, I have always loved otters, and this fabric just really caught my attention. I was not intending to buy any new fabric, but when I saw, I mean, look just how cute, how cute. And it's got these cute little turtles on it. Can you see the turtle? And then also these ducks. Let's see if I can show you the ducks. Well, actually, here's some more otters here at the top. Anyway, I just couldn't help myself, so I went ahead and purchased some more fabric. I need that like I need a hole in my head. But let me show you what I set up on this page for this quilt. Okay? All right, so here you see the whole page has loaded, and I actually found a quilt pattern that you see here in my design space that was related to this particular project, okay? And I went researching online, and I actually found a quilt kit that was with this pattern. So let me show you that. Okay, so I ordered the quilt kit, and it came in the mail. It included the paper pattern that you see here. It also included all of the fabric that I would need to complete the front and the binding of this quilt. It did not have the backing material in there, but that's okay. I went ahead and ordered some backing material from this same line. All right. So you see here on my screen that I have filled in the information from this quilt pattern. And so I'm going to zoom in so you can see that a little bit better. All right, so let's focus up here on this top left-hand column, all right? In my master, what I did is I set up a place for like the title and the designer of the quilt. So if I look here on my quilt pattern, I can see right here on the side, it says who the designer of this quilt was. So I went ahead and wrote in there, River Romp by Heidi Pridemore, okay? Then the pattern details. Well, this was a free pattern that I could download from the Henry Glass Company. When you go to that website, the pattern is right there. So if you like this and you would like to check it out, go for it. I'll try to leave a link in the description below for you. This is not a sponsored video. This is just me sharing information that I have found with you, okay? The fabric collection is actually called River Romp, and it was done in 2022, so I put that information in there. The size I am making is a baby quilt, and the finished size of this quilt, according to the information down here at the bottom, is 44 by 64 inches, you know, in width and length, okay? So I ordered the kit with the materials and the binding, and when you look at this link that I have down here under the notes, this is actually a link to the digital copy of the quilt pattern that I downloaded. So you see there, it's a free project, not for sale. It was simply included for free with the quilt kit that I bought with all the materials, okay? And so here you can see all of the fabric collection. I just think it's so cute. And then they have the directions for how to put it together and, you know, the construction at the end and all of that, all right? So that's really cool. I think it's a really, really cute quilt, all right? So one of the things that I wanted to do is I have a place on my page for swatches. Now, before you ask, how did I get this into OneNote? I have lots of videos on how to take a PDF file, and when you download it to your machine, you can simply print it to OneNote, and you can tell it exactly what section you want. I will leave a link to a video up above about how to download and print into OneNote. But once I got it in here, what I was able to do was set each one of these graphics as a background. So I unselected, let me do that on this one that I want to copy for you. I'm going to unselect that. You can see now that it is a graphic. So all I did here was I made a copy of that, and then I took it back to my project page, and I simply pasted it and then moved it into position right here. So under the section where it says swatches of fabric, I have all of the fabric pieces right here on this little graphic, which I think is really cool. Normally, if you were keeping a paper book for your projects, you know, you would cut out little swatches of your fabric and have that in your notebook. I can't do that in digital form, so the photograph works great. All right, and then down here at the bottom, I have a little chart for tracking expenses. The kit was $60, the backing material. I have the receipt, but I haven't put all of that information in here yet. And then I actually found an extra panel online too, because this fabric was 2 years old. I wanted to go ahead and get it just in case I ever needed a second one. I think it's really cute. All right. So I actually started this quilt on March the 2nd. Have not completed it yet, so I can't fill that date in. But the person I am thinking about giving it to is having a baby in April, so I would like to get it finished this month so that it will be ready for her. And it is for baby boy, which we don't know a name yet, who's the third child in the family, okay? Then what I did here is I put together the steps to make a quilt. So pull out all the fabrics and coordinating scraps to fill in the gaps. I didn't need to do that one, so that one's left blank because I wasn't pulling scraps from my stash. I ordered a kit and everything came in that kit. And that's number 2 here, buy any needed fabrics. That was the kit. Design layout of the blocks. I didn't have to do that because I already had a free pattern. Piece the blocks, which I did. Sew the rows together, add the borders, and then choose backing and piece it to size. Now I have the backing, but I have not cut it to the right size yet, so I cannot check that one off. By the batting, I already had it in my stash, so I'm using up some of my stash, which is great. And then look at what quilt pattern or pantograph I want to use. Bind it together, has not been done yet. Label has not been made yet. Attached label has not been done yet, okay? So the quilt was designed again by Heidi Pridemore. She was the quilt designer. I did the piecing myself, and I think I may be doing the quilting on this one myself. I want to do some kind of waves, water, ripply effect, that kind of thing. And I think that's something I can do on my home machine. Okay? All right, now going up to the top of our third column here, materials needed. The pattern is River Romp, and that was a free download. So I can add that it was a free download. Okay. The front piecing pieces, I'm going to purchase the quilt kit, which I already did. The borders are included in the kit. The backing, I purchased some underwater otters in teal, and that's the SKU number there. Binding was included in the kit, and it's the brown turtle shell fabric, which I think is cute. The batting I had on hand, it was a poly cotton blend. And the quilt pattern, again, I want it to be some kind of water or ripples or not really waves in the river. You know, I don't want big things. I just want soft, gentle things. Okay? All right, now down here for supplies, I have on hand things that I might need. Thread, my cutting mat, my rotary cutter, my regular rulers, what size ruler I want or might need. I want the long one that I have as a 24-inch ruler, and I will need that one for some of those long pieces that I'm going to need to cut. Okay, so the ruler that I'm going to use the most is my 24-inch rule. Okay, and then things that I would need to purchase for this project was the quilt kit, which was complete, the backing material, and for that I needed 3 yards, and then I wanted to look for an extra panel, which I did find. So happy about that, okay? Then the skills that I learned or that I wanted to work on while making this particular quilt is using panels and getting the pieced borders correct. Now, if you have never worked with a panel, I can tell you that normally a panel, is a certain size and a certain width. You start with that size, length, and width, and then you're able to piece your pieces along the side. Well, the bad part about this one was the pattern told me to cut this panel here, this internal panel, to a certain size, and actually the size that they wanted me to cut it to was not as tall as the panel was. So I had to go a little bit shorter than that, which meant probably all of the other pieces right along in here were going to be different sizes as well, okay? So what I did is I cut the panel as big as I could, and then I added this blue inner border, cutting it to the size of the panel. And then when I got to down here, adding this panel on the side and the panel at the bottom, what I did is I took the biggest piece in this pieced border and I measured and added the extra space that I needed on to make it, wide enough to fit the side, okay? I also did the same thing over here. I took this piece that was here in the middle and I just made it just a scooch bigger on each end to make it fit properly, okay? Then again, these turtle borders out here, I just cut those to fit the length once I had this outer border put on, okay? Now, you see I have some gray in here, and let me show you. I can move that out of the way. Actually, let me go back over and I'll show you on that other picture that I have of the quilt. You see here on the original design of the quilt, there is another whole patched or pieced border around the outside here, and then another piece of that cerulean blue here on the outside, and then very small on the edge, you can see a little bit of that brown. That's actually the binding, which is this fabric here, used again out here on the binding, okay? The more I thought about it, the width of the fabric that I had for the backing, I don't think I have enough fabric to do these extra 2 borders out here, okay? So what I wanted to do is I wanted to see, well, if I took those 2 borders off, would the quilt still be big enough and would it still look okay? All right. So over here on my in my design space, I decided to go ahead and gray out those outside pieces. So you can see here, all I did was I created a line, just to cover up what's there. Okay. Like so. So that I could get a general idea of what that quilt would look like and would it look finished enough if I just did these 3 borders right here. And you know what? I think in person, anyway, it looks fine. It's going to look great. It's going to fit on the backing that I have without having to piece it, and that will make it easier to do on my home machine. And then what I can now do in this design space is, remember I was talking about what quilting pattern I want here? Well, you see here there's kind of this ripply wave effect down here at the bottom. And oftentimes what I like to do with my iPad and my Apple Pencil would be a little bit easier to show you, but I'll show you here on the computer. All right, so you can see here on this panel, there's kind of some wave patterns already started. So I'm going to go up here and choose a bright color and a small nib, and I'm going to go down here and I'm going to start kind of echoing some of these lines like so, okay? And that will just kind of give me an idea of what I might want to do for the quilting pattern. Now, I'm probably going to choose a color that blends in with the background fabric here. And I don't have to do every line if I don't want. I can just do something like this. And then maybe when he's down in the water, you know, there are bigger bubbles where he's splashing around. But up here, it may be a little bit more calm. So I can do this and practice and play and figure out exactly, you know, the kinds of quilting lines that I want going out around this quilt. Okay, you can even see here on the little duck, the ducks that are swimming there, there are little ripples there as well. Okay, so you can kind of see that. So again, you can just kind of play around with what kind of quilting design you might want, you know, on your quilt top. Again, in that design space. Again, it's much easier to do this when I am using my iPad and my Apple Pencil because I have a lot more control over that, okay? I could even say, let's choose a different color and say I want to do maybe some echo quilting up here in the sky, maybe kind of around these clouds. And it's still kind of the same kind of motion, but you know, I'm kind of outlining or echo quilting around these clouds, and every piece of my quilt top does not have to be the same. All I need to do is make sure that I have enough sewing in there to hold that batting into place, okay? So this is kind of a cool way to be able to play around with and see what kind of quilting I might like to have on my quilt. All right, so that's pretty cool. Oh, and look at that little rabbit up there. He's so cute. Anyway, I think this is going to be a lot of fun to do. And I like the fact that OneNote allows me to add all of these graphics and everything in here so that I can play around with it if I want. And the great thing is if I want to include a couple of different pictures and try a couple of different things, let me show you how to do that. So I could come over here to my quilt page, and I could copy this page, and I can take it back, and I can simply go out here on the side and Control V to paste. Make that a little bit smaller, and click beside it, Control V to paste. And what this allows me to do is to try a couple of different options, okay? So maybe I'm not 100% thrilled with this version and I want to try again over here. And that's great. You know, I can just do that because OneNote's pages are infinitely large. So I can add as much as I want to this page. So you can see that page that once filled up my whole screen is now just this little thumbnail up in the corner, okay? So I have lots of space to play. I can take my pen here and I can, let's not make it so large, and I can practice, you know, maybe I want to do waves like this. You know, I can do that kind of thing and just practice, 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 which I think is really, really cool, okay? All right, let's get rid of all of that and let's scroll back in. All right. So you can see here how this kind of quilting master planner might be a good thing to keep track of all the things that you're doing on a particular project, and how doing it in OneNote gives you all of this extra space here on the side, okay? I think it works great. I have used other iterations of this in the past that have worked well for me. And I think this one for 2024, kind of keeping it all confined on this notebook page, is kind of cool. Let me show you one of those other iterations that I used to use. All right, so this one is one that you guys have probably seen from a couple years ago. Again, I had the same basic information, but I had it running down here on the side. You know, so there's my steps to getting it done. There's my supplies, all of that kind of stuff. And this one I happen to do on grid paper. Maybe you're somebody that likes to use grid paper. I did for a long time and wanted to try this. So I thought this one looked pretty cool. And And then again, I had room to write and draw and, measure out the backing and all of that kind of stuff for this quilt that I did in the past. So same information over here, but it looks very different between this page, which is on graph paper, and the page that I'm doing for this time, which is on a quilt notebook background, okay? So lots of different ways to do things in OneNote. I think that's fabulous. Anyway, I better get back to working on that quilt if I want to get it done before that baby comes. I just wanted to quickly come on and share this with you today. If you've learned something new, or if you liked it, or if you just love otters as much as I do, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up. That really is the best compliment you can do for me. Hit that subscribe button if you have not already. Click those notification bells all the way on so that you don't miss any future videos that we have here at A Crystal Clear Life. Leave me a comment or a question if you have one. And here's hoping that you can live a more simplified and organized life through better planning. I use OneNote. Until next time. Okay, bye.